Meanwhile, I'm sure you were watching at the end of last week, Dr. Ben Carson, an esteemed neurosurgeon from Johns Hopkins, was a keynoter at the National Prayer Breakfast, and he used the Bible to bring up some national issues, talking about the deficit, talking about how to fix health care, and talking about taxes, which he talked with Neil Cavuto about yesterday. Listen to this.
Somebody has to be courageous enough to actually stand up to, the bullies. There's no question that he has advocated, basically a policy of tax the rich. And I have advocated a policy that comes from the Bible, which is a very fair policy of proportional taxation. If it was good enough for God, why wouldn't it be good enough for us? The minute you deviate away from that, you begin to get into all kinds of biases. And one could legitimately make the argument that the rich pay too many taxes. The top 1% pays 37% of the taxes. The top 5%, 59% of the taxes, but they don't make that much of the income. One could make that argument. It depends on your philosophical disposition which argument you're going to make, but you take those arguments away as soon as you go to a proportional tax. I believe that's the reason God did it.
Laura, he was also criticized for being a physician and then getting up there and talking about taxes. But he says, look, this is learned from facts and from empirical data. And being a doctor, I deal with that every single day. Yeah. So he felt he was the perfect person to talk about facts.
Yeah, so we can have celebrities, right, talk about fracking and all sorts of political issues. But we actually have the head of neurosurgery, pediatric neurosurgery at one of the top hospitals in the world, who gets up on that stage at the National Prayer Breakfast, and he addresses a number of topics, right? But from a common sense, very respectful fashion. He wasn't mean-spirited. He wasn't nasty. But the reaction was so profound from the public, thinking, why don't we have politicians who speak in these common sense terms? Whatever you think about 10% taxation, put that aside for a minute. What he said about everything. What he said about the way we administer health care, what he said about the way we see government fail to address the needs of the people.
And look for excuses.
Yeah, well, and you know what the great is, guys, he was raised by a single mother in Detroit. And when he's asked, I asked him yesterday, well, how did you make it? I mean, single mother, Detroit, that's pretty tough. He said, my mother never let me blame anyone for our station in life. I was held to the same standards as the kid in the other part of the city who was raised in a lot of money with a lot of benefits. And I did not ever get to blame anyone. I thought that was a searing statement. And we need more of that in our culture as well. Stand up on your own 2 feet. Stop the blame game. Indeed. That was great.